The James Show Podcast.
Well, as it stands right now, we have a lot of people who have strong opinions on what it takes to legally punch somebody in the face. This is funny because this is not something that directly affects you. This story in Cincinnati about the brawlers after the jazz festival, they beat up a bunch of people in the viral video. They went to court today, and they keep using the racial slur as if it was some sort of justification for violence, which is kind of odd. I don't think that is a justification for violence. But even though this happened 6 states away, this is the rules that we all have to live under. I would like to see that change. I do not think a racial slur justifies violence. And that doesn't sound like an extreme position to me. I am just baffled about how it gets talked about in the media and the news reports on this, like that's the most normal thing in the world. Don't worry, we're doing a whole thing on the Russia summit tomorrow, and I'll get you all caught up on what's happened with the Texas legislators that have run. But this is a discussion that I hope we don't have to keep having 5-10 years from now. Darlene in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Hey, I do not agree with being able to punch somebody out because they say something to you that you don't like.
Right.
In the 80s, that's a long time ago, I know, but my son was in junior high after football practice. I know. But after football practice, he went to turn all his gear in, and they were all in this big gym, and a bunch of guys were there, and one of his friends was there with him, and they were all African-American, and they were all calling each other the N-word. Hey, and all that. So Justin did it. Oh, I shouldn't have said his name, but anyway, my son did it. And I mean, he got attacked. There were 4 or 5 people on him, hitting him, kicking him in the bleachers, knocked him down. I mean, it was awful because they could say it among themselves, but he couldn't say it to them, even though one of those boys had literally stayed the night with us before. He was a friend of our family. And when we asked him about it, he said that he had to do what the other ones did. And that's just like, a while back they were saying you couldn't do dreadlocks, you couldn't do this or that because it was offensive. I mean, where's the line? It just seems like the lines are gone. And that was back in the 80s when that happened in junior high. He's now in his 40s. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it's a cultural thing. It's like if you use language within a culture, it's okay to use it if you're in that culture. But if you hear them saying it and you're kidding around and you use it, well, then you're a bad person because even though they say it, you're not allowed to. But you don't know the rules.
What's interesting is I have seen this discussion come up where people ask different AIs, whether it's the Grok one or Chat GPT, how come the N-word gets disparate rules depending on who says it? And yes. and the comparison that, the 2 AIs that I've seen try to explain it are it's just in the way that you can insult your own family, but you get offended when someone else does it. Like if you call your own brother an a-hole, that's one thing. But if someone else calls your brother an a-hole, then you're like, hey, right? So I think the problem here is just based simply on the color of people's skin. They treat them, I don't want to say like family, but they take their side. They give them, there's a bias there, an obvious bias, which, if you want to use other words, an obvious what? Discrimination. Oh, no, they're making judgments based on the color of someone's skin. Well, we know we were told that's wrong in the past. Is it not still wrong? So,
and I'm sorry. But another thing that I don't understand, okay, say one guy said that to one guy. Does that give 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 people the right to come and jump on him?
Yes, because you didn't insult that one guy. You insulted the whole family.
And there's your problem. It's a cultural thing.
It's a collectivism thing because not all people that have that skin tone live by these rules.
That's true.
That's true. There's plenty of them that don't. There's plenty of them that if they see a group of people jumping on them, they don't jump in or take sides just based on the color of their skin. The problem is that there's a subset in that group who does think like that. And I don't think we can fix it. I think maybe we can kind of lean on the media to not inflame it so much, but they haven't been real helpful in balancing their reporting when it comes to racial issues now, have they? This is Kevin in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP.
Yes, I think that we should have all 18-year-olds after they graduate high school be required to do 4 years military. That commands respect. And I think that's among all colors, all races.
No, look, that works for most people, but you don't want the military full of people who don't want to be there. You don't want the military full of people who don't belong there or deserve to be there. You don't want ill-behaved people in there. You don't want people who are too stupid in there. And I don't mean that as an insult, but there's like a cutoff. Like if your IQ is below, I think it's like 82, they just don't let you in. You shouldn't have criminals in there. You shouldn't have sexual miscreants, sex offenders in there. No, we shouldn't be sending everyone to the military. I know that you've seen a lot of people go into the military and it changed them for the better, but that's not going to work for everybody.
May not work always, but there's not a perfect plan, and that's one good one I think of.
Yeah. Well, see, so many of these plans, like the guy earlier that called in, is like they should all go to anger management class. You're saying they should all go to the military, purportedly, I imagine, to learn discipline and learn how, right and wrong and how to treat your fellow man. Some people want other training or schools or programs, and all of them sound like a sorry government replacement for a dad. That's what so many people in these issues really need. If you want to get rid of crime, where's it coming from? The community that doesn't have as many dads. You want to get rid of poverty? Where's that coming from? A community that doesn't have as many dads. Drug addiction, prostitution, so many of our societal ills are exacerbated by the lack of the biological mother and father, the lack of the nuclear family.
Well, then starting from the home, I think they need to change the divorce laws and not make it so dang easy to break up homes so they have a mom and a dad.
I think what you really mean is custody laws and child support laws, because that definitely incentivizes divorce. That also incentivizes promiscuity, knowing that if you do get knocked up by some random guy that you had a one-night stand with after the club, that he's not going to be financially responsible for you. This is going to disincentivize that poor behavior that leads to these poor conditions. So there's a few incentives we can put on there, but really, here's the tough truth. That's out of our control, y'all. My next guest, returning to the James Show from Current Revolt, the great Tony Ortiz. Welcome back to the James Show, sir. Big fan of your work over on Current Revolt and one of the great Texas political tabloids we have. I'm interested in this. The Texas House Democrats that ran, they're now offering to come back with a couple of conditions. Your take on this, Tony?
Yeah, their conditions are kind of funny, right? They want the session to end today, which has already been previously announced. This is not new news, so it's kind of like you're saying you're going to do something, and one of your and then somebody says, "Well, a condition of you doing this is to do this," what you've already said you're going to do. So just kind of silly there. And then another condition for their return is they want California to introduce their new congressional maps.
Well, we don't have any control over that. Yeah. What the heck?
Exactly. It's very silly. And this is not new for Democrats, right? As far as silliness goes and ridiculousness goes. But they want California to introduce new maps as a demand for them returning back to do their jobs. And it's actually quite insulting. And, as a right-wing journalist, I try to look at these things with both sides and on both sides of the aisle. But this is actually very insulting that you've been elected to do a job, and now you're holding your job and the state hostage for something that's completely out of the state's control.
So here's my theory, Tony Ortiz. They knew they were going to come back. They know it's safe. They know they're not going to be arrested. Dustin had him there for that first day of the session, but then he put him in recess for 3 days. That's when they ran. They've made no real attempt to punish them, to vacate their seats, to take away their chairmanships, anything other than a couple of knick-knacky financial paper cuts here. I'm starting to get the feeling that Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, had some sort of coordination with this, like he's in on it.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I would say that both sides are definitely chest beating, right? A lot of this is just... it's an opportunity for both sides to fundraise and to get national attention. And has gotten that, right? You've seen not only Democrats get national news attention, they're on MSNBC, they're on Fox, they're on CNN, they're loving this, right? The Democrats that have run away are absolutely loving the media attention they're getting, right?
Well, because no one talked to them all of human history up until they ran.
Right, they're not important, and it's frankly it's true. Whether if you're a Democrat in a red state, you're like the world's tallest midget. Like nobody cares. And as for Republicans, this is also a big deal for them too, because they're getting. I mean, one was on Timcast, and I love Briscoe Cain was on Timcast. I love Briscoe Cain. You've seen them show up on Fox and other major huge media outlets. So for them, this is huge. Like the Democrats walking out. This has been huge for both sides. It's given both sides an opportunity to fundraise and to get national coverage.
All right, we're talking with Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt. So does this mean the maps are going to pass?
Oh, the maps will pass. That it's not a question of if they'll pass. It's a question as to when, right? Democrats have done this quorum breaking several times in the past, and they've done it back when we originally tried to redo them. We originally redid the maps. I think it was back in 2002. They did a quorum break then. It passed anyway. They did that back in 2020 when we passed. We were trying to pass more strict voter registration or voter ID laws. They broke for that, claiming it was racist. They passed anyway, and now they're doing it again here, claiming again racism, and it's going to pass. They're messaging about these maps being racist. I don't know if they've actually paid attention to the races that they're referencing when they claim racism, but Hispanics are moving towards the right. They're losing that demographic. The left is being left with the white liberals and the blacks. That's basically the only demographic they're being left with.
All right, Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt. Look, come back to my theory. How would they leave the state without some sort of assurances that they wouldn't lose their seat, that they wouldn't lose their championships, that they wouldn't be arrested, that they wouldn't face any charges? That's a hell of a trust that they have with Dustin Burrows if there's no coordination. Now, I'm not saying I know that they coordinated or they asked or they told him or they got a wink and a nudge, but both scenarios are possible. Now we're just discussing which one's more probable, and I'm starting to lean toward coordination.
Yeah, I don't think it's coordination. I think it's more of just like obviousness, right? Like I think Republicans probably knew that this was going to happen. Democrats have been signaling this forever. They do it every time. This isn't something that's like, it's like predicting that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. Democrats leaving because maps are being redrawn. That's not abnormal. As far as like fear of being arrested, the state has no jurisdiction for these sort of things outside of Texas. So right. There was zero fear from them to run away and flee to Chicago or New York, blue states, right, that are definitely not going to comply with Texas laws. So I don't think there's coordination there. It's just very obvious that they weren't going to get, arrested in another state. As far as like a heads up to Dustin Burrows, they probably did. I mean, the Democrats and Republicans talked a lot more than what most media will lead you to believe. They'll lead you to believe that these guys hate each other and they walk past each other in the Capitol and they're flipping each other off. Like, no, they talk, they go out to drink together, they hang out. This is not abnormal for them to communicate. So, they probably did signal like, hey, we're probably going to leave if you pass these maps, and they did. And again, for both sides, Republican and Democrat, this has been a big win for both of them as far as advertising goes.
All right. Well, good chat there, Tony Ortiz. I appreciate your insight on what's going on in Austin. And you know what? You might want to work on my theory a little bit. I don't think it's that far off. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
We'll see what happens.
All right. Tony Ortiz. Tomorrow is the big summit in Alaska. If it happens, it'll be the United States and Russia sitting down. And if something amazing happens, we'll go right to it. We already have plans. We had a meeting. We're all ready to go for this thing tomorrow because this could be a nothing burger. This could be a walkaway moment. This could be something that sort of implodes within a matter of minutes, but it could be something that's written in the history books. And so just in case it is, keep it right here. We'll even if it's in the middle of the James show, that's how important we find this story. We'll bust in on it. Our top two stories of the day. Number one, the Cincinnati Brawlers are in court, and I am a little braised by this idea that using a racial slur means you can get beat up in the middle of the street, and so can the four people next to you, as if that's some sort of justification. And then the other big story that's happening actually here in Texas. At 1:30 today, right before the James show started, the Texas House Democratic Caucus sent out an email, said, yeah, we'll return, but here's our conditions. And the conditions are something that's kind of weird. They're like, well, we have to end this special session with a sign of die, which we were going to do anyway. And then California has to adopt these new maps. We're not in control of that. So it's a weird situation. I'm trying to figure it out. 800-288-9227. Let's go to Chris and Crum. You're on WBAP.
Yes, James. When it comes to racial slurs and violence, I can tell you two definite things. After 27 years of being in interracial marriage, I've never heard my wife's family say anything that bad. In fact, when she serves me a nice salad at the dinner table, I ask her to pass the oil and vin N-word. I don't even want to touch that word.
I see what you did there. Was that a punchline? Because
That's the punchline.
Okay. I didn't know if you really did that. Okay, so you're in an interracial marriage. What does the outside world not know about 27 years of interracial marriage?
They may not recognize what genre of music actually has a body count. Oh, that would be hip hop and rap, because I don't call any other genres of music having that. It's okay to say N-words when you're rapping about women as garden tools and such, but, it's okay for people to use that as terms of endearment, but God forbid anybody else says that. We can't have that.
Who gave you more problems in the interracial marriage, your community or her community?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's about even.
That's one thing I know I don't know because I haven't experienced it, and I haven't even been adjacent to someone who has experienced it. So, all right. Well, fair enough, Chris. I guess you have some insights. I'm glad you shared them with the class. Thank you, sir.
All right, brother.
All right, let's go to Bill in Gainesville. Hey, Bill, you're on WBAP.
Well, good afternoon, and I would like to have a demand before these Democrats come back to Texas for wasting my tax money, the cost that it takes to just have a special session. I need to be reimbursed, along with an apology for defrauding me out of their representation. They're not representing anybody. They're representing themselves. And I think that every one of them should have to pay the money back to the taxpayers.
I like that plan, but also this doesn't happen without the complicity of the Republicans who are in charge of the House, and namely Dustin Burrows. He didn't make them vote the first day they were in session and everyone was there and we had a quorum. He gave them a 3-day break and basically gave them the window by which to abscond. And since that's happened, he's threatened to arrest them. But there's rumors that some of them are still here in Texas and they're just not being arrested because this is all theater. And then when they get back, is anyone losing their seat? Did they move to vacate their seats? Is anyone going to be charged with a crime? Is anyone going to spend any days in jail? No, they're not. So while your ire toward the Democrats who ran, it is justified, and I agree with it. I want you to expand that to the people who are allowing this to happen and going along with the theatrics. And namely, it starts with Speaker Dustin Burrows, but this isn't a one-man show. It was Dade Phelan who was doing it in the last session 2 years ago. And there's just a subset of the Republican Party, and I'm saying that with capital R's, not the voters out there, but there's a subset of them that are just absolutely not Republican in any other way but name. They are not conservative. They do not behave as conservatives. They do not follow the will of the conservative/Republican voters in Texas. They are absolute political frauds, and they're surviving with a pretty nice political career being a chameleon.
Well, the problem I see is it's not Republican or Democrat necessarily. It's the taxpayers who the government is defrauding then. Someone, maybe Ken Paxton, can just put a freeze on everyone's assets and say, we got business here to the taxpayers. And until you guys sit down and get this figured out, do something.
Well, look,
money's being wasted.
Again, I agree with the direction your gun is pointing, but I think the real solution is if you leave the state when we're trying to have a quorum, and unless you're like hospitalized because you got in a car wreck and you're in a coma, you have vacated your seat, and you should either like that seat should be erased, and so it no longer counts toward a quorum, the 2/3 or whatever it is. Or the governor should be able to appoint someone to fill that seat that's been vacated, but they're not even doing that.
A good deal.
They're not even doing that. They're not even trying to do that, and so they're in on it. There's a level of complicity here. And Bill, the only thing I can think to do for the Bills in Gainesville, just the regular people listening, is knock these fake ones out in the primary. And we have the Rhino list. Brian Harrison and I put together the list. We even got a map. So if you want to get the list, send me an email or a Facebook message, Instagram message, whatever. I'll send you a list. Go look at the map. See if you're in one of the districts of these rhinos, the 32 rhinos that flipped and voted with the Democrats to put Dustin Burrows in charge. All of that. That's where it starts. And that's just in the House. We have a smaller faction of this in the Senate. But when we talk about solutions, for now, there's nothing we can do. But when this primary comes around next year, follow the list. And if you don't take care of business in the primaries, we're not even going to get another shot at this for 2.5 years.
Right.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Yeah, good chat. Thank you very much. That's Bill in Gainesville. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Yeah, and this is such a weird a couple of demands here. Texas House Democratic Caucus. They sent out this email to everyone about 1:30, right before the James Show started. And they want California to pass their new maps, and they want to end the special session at the same time that it was already going to end. Something's going on here. This isn't sitting right. And we have some special programming coming up tomorrow. This is going to be cool, or this could. Let me put some qualifiers in there. This could be an event that's in the history books. This could be something that will be remembered beyond next week. Do I know that that's how this will end up? No. I'm just saying there's a reason why we're doing all this preparation. There's a reason why we're preparing to break into the James Show live tomorrow. Because in the best case scenario of what could happen tomorrow is a history-making event. Now, what flavor of history-making event? Let's explore the spectrum here. Because of all the deals, if they do work out a deal, let's assume a deal is worked out. What could the deal look like? Here's the spectrum. The Ukraine keeps all of its territories, and we return to the borders that were before when the war started, and everyone's happy, and it's a total win for Ukraine, a total capitulation for Russia. On the other side of that, what's the total capitulation of Ukraine and a total win for Russia look like? Well, Russia takes over all of Ukraine. Ukraine's now part of old Russia again, kind of like it was during the Soviet Union. And we know neither one of those deals are going to happen. If there is a deal, it will be somewhere in the middle of that. Russia will get some land. How much? That's the variable. There will be some other economic arrangements made, the lifting of sanctions. We'll complete the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, or we'll get off your back about that, or we'll open up this product or this oil or these rights or these minerals, or there's going to be a lot of horse trading there. And I don't know where those variables are going to land up, but I know it's going to be in that spectrum between total Ukraine capitulation and total Russia capitulation, which I don't expect to happen. I think there's a greater than zero chance no deal happens. Is that good? Well, that's better than a bad deal, but that would mean the war continues. History is not going to be made at this summit. It may be made at a future summit. And in that case, we'll still probably break into programming as soon as it's announced. But I also have a suspicion that if it does fall apart and it's not going to happen, we'll know quick. We'll know super quick. We'll know within a matter of minutes if this thing is going to fall apart. And this is how businessmen work. This is probably how most diplomats work if they haven't been completely intoxicated by the political life for too long. Because, remember, most politicians didn't start out politicians. They start out making some money or doing something else somewhere else. You have a few exceptions. You have the lifelong politicians like a Joe Biden, or you have the guys that got in late in life, but they never actually had a career of any sort, like a Bernie Sanders or a Barack Obama. But for the most part, these guys are businessmen. Most of them are lawyers, actually, when you break it down. And so they know how deals work. They've been in the room before where they're sitting across the table from some guy and he's trying to get something out of them and they're trying to get something out of you. And you try and find a situation that is amenable to both. You try to find the piece of paper that they can both sign and both walk out of that room and proud of the result. You have to give them both something to brag about. And I know it shouldn't matter, but we are humans enduring the human condition. You have to make it feel like the other guy's getting a win. And he has to make you feel like you're getting a win. And the fact that it hasn't been called off, we're less than 24 hours away from this summit, is a fantastic sign. This means that Putin thinks we're serious about a deal, and we think Putin is serious about a deal, or it would have been called off probably about right now, probably about the time the James Show was starting. Because if they're going to call it off, I give them a little bit of wiggle room here, because you don't want to call it off literally at the last minute, because then this 16-hour plane flight that Donald Trump's making from D.C. to Alaska, I don't know if it's 16 hours, so don't at me if I'm wrong. But you don't want to find out halfway through that flight, and then you got to turn around somewhere over Saskatchewan and come back. That's a whole waste of a day. I think we're past that point. So I think there's going to be a summit. The fact that it made it this far, it's possible but not probable that there will be a quick walk away. I am more than 50% chance in a belief in a chance that some deal is going to happen. Now, we have this other weird variable that will be visited upon this situation that isn't the norm for when you're listening to WBAP, and I'm telling you about when peace deals are trying to be made. The one weird wild card we have is Ukraine's not in the building. So it's different. Like last week when they were brokering the deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia, these two tiny countries over by the Caucasus, east of Turkey, north of Iran, they were both at the summit. They have a long-going conflict, and they have a weird territory thing where Azerbaijan is split in half by Armenia, and it's been a geopolitical oddity for your entire life. But since the countries are so small, hadn't got a whole lot of news. But both of them were at the meeting. That's how it usually works. When there's an Israeli-Gaza meeting or a ceasefire talk, both of them are usually in the building. It is odd, though. It is odd that Ukraine's not going to be there. That could be something that throws a wrench and ruins what would otherwise be a successful agreement that could be reached tomorrow. Rest assured, though, you're going to find out here first. Yeah, if the James Show is already part of your daily listening routine, all you got to do is keep it here. We'll do this again tomorrow, and we'll jump in and let you know, and you'll hear first if it's history. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Oh, that's the tough one. I think so. But I could just as easily see this being a 13-minute meeting where someone walks away, or they both announce some sort of agreement that Putin likes and Trump likes, but then we find out in 24 to 48 hours that Zelensky doesn't like it, so this was all for naught and didn't work out anyway. So super complicated situation. We'll cover it tomorrow for you, probably about right now on WBAP. Coming up next on The James Show, find out why Melania Trump is threatening to sue Hunter Biden for $1 billion. And once you hear why, you'll wish this story's getting more coverage. Find out on The James Show next. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.